What? Really? No! Wait! This is real? Like, IKEA's the place where you get real food?
I actually went to IKEA to eat the meatballs. And I mean...
Hi, what's up everyone? We're here at the CLG facility to chat with Finn. Finn, thank you so much for making time, brother. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, all right, let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, hey, so Finn, how do I say your last name? Because I saw it, it looks hard with the...
You can say Wiestål, that's what everyone does, but it's actually Wiestål.
Wiestål?
O, like O, yeah. Wiestål.
Is that what that symbol means?
Yeah, it's a A with a little ring on top, yeah, that's an O.
But it is Wiestål?
Wiestål, yeah.
Okay, all right, I'll
try to remember. You can say Wiestål, like everyone does.
Yeah, they just go so American.
Wiestål, yeah.
All right. I'll make sure, I'll talk to Ryan and make sure they get that right.
Thank you, appreciate it.
There's a lot of content on you making the decision, come to America. I think there was also a maturity in how it happened. You said, hey, it was clear Rogue was very transparent with me, didn't want to continue with me. I wanted to find a spot. CLG ended up being the destination. Yeah. How did that happen? Why CLG out of any other option that you could have done?
Yeah, so basically for me what was very important was not really where I played, but who I played with. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at these options that I had, and I really liked the core that CLG had found, with like me, Eugene, Mads, Turl, and Andy. I thought it was a really strong core, and I couldn't really find the same sense of unity among the other rosters that I was looking for. So for me that was number one, the roster, and then just how the organizations talked to me, how they presented their vision. I thought CLG had a really good one. So that's really why I stuck with CLG. I was quite impressed by them immediately compared to other orgs. So that's really all there is to it.
You said that there's a sense of unity here, and I feel like that had to be tested because not only because of the visa issues they had preventing you from getting in, but then losses. This has to be some of the most losing that you've done ever. And then you find a way through it. But talk me through what it takes to come back in and day out with the same guys, that unity that you said that we've seen other teams have that challenge all the time and it breaks apart.
Yeah, I think in most other teams I've been on, if something like this happened, there would be like a collapse. And I'm really shocked that they didn't have this collapse. It's a pleasant surprise to be sure. What really keeps us going is some kind of trust in each other. We kind of trust that we will perform. I know that these guys, even though we had some really rough games and rough performances, I know that these guys know how the game works. These guys have been playing for so long, like Jason, Eugene, even Mads and Andy, they've been playing for so long and they just understand how the game works. So once we have this click moment, I kind of know that it's going to work out. And I think we're on the right path now. After our last week, which was a 3-0, I feel like we kind of are moving in the right direction. It was rough for a few weeks and I think we were quite disoriented. We didn't really know how we wanted to play. Yeah. But now we have this kind of structure we can build upon.
With this 3-0 week that you had, a lot of it was based off of Brox's Vi and it shouldn't work and they're playing easy comps. What do you have to say to that, even though you guys won?
Well, it might be true that these comps have easier ways to access and start fights. I think the way we fought primarily was what we won, and we had some really good adaptations in some of the games. 2 or 3 weeks prior we might have collapsed after 1 or 2 bad fights. We kind of problem solved and try to figure out how to keep going forward. Not the champions, but more of the play style.
Along those lines, there are different thought processes on League where it's like, hey, you can either play the ideal comp and practice that and work that, or you can play a lesser comp and execute it better. Which one do you try to focus on? The ideal way to play or min-maxing with what you have?
I think over my career I've had both situations, but I always thought that I perform better when I'm playing to my strengths. I will have an explosive top matchup and I will have some kind of agency to translate my lead to my team. And that's kind of what I want to strive for. Having some kind of way to get an individual lead myself and then kind of help my team with that. And I think we kind of just agree that we should all play to our strengths and just execute on what we know works rather than trying to be a team we're really not.
What is Finn's strengths? How should people think about Finn, the top laner?
Well, I always saw myself like a bit of a wild card maybe, a bit of a crazy fighter that is kind of not afraid to make plays. I think I perform the best when I'm on on champions that can just fight. If I'm on some champion I'm comfortable on, I know I can get leads over anyone I'm playing against. I think I'm really selfless compared to other top laners. A lot of top laners are like, they really want to min-max their own lead and they just want to sit in the lane, but I think I really just want to fight with my team. And I think that's the biggest difference.
So funny that you say you're a fighter and you want to win lane, but then also you want to play for your team. You see how that's kind of funny because those could be two things that are divergent, right?
Well, yeah, it's more like it's different parts in the game. I think in the beginning of the fight, in the beginning of the game, I like to accumulate a lead, and then I just want to make sure that my team is not getting left behind.
Got it.
And just bring them with me on the ride.
Trivia time. Who were your top 3 played champions from last year?
Last year?
Last year.
Ornn.
Okay.
GP.
Okay.
Renekton.
Okay, yes, that's correct. Those are the 3. What does that say about you and the style of your play, or was that just more of like, that's just what was in the meta last year?
I think that's more of a result of how we played at Rogue. I think Rogue last year we kind of had this style where we just kept cycling. Everyone was kind of playing the same champions over and over. Yeah. And I think the top meta was very monotone the whole year, so I always just keep playing these 3 champions. Ornn, ranked on GP, they were just never going out of meta. What was required of me was to be stable. It had to be stable and keep a controlled game. And I think those 3 champions kind of enabled me to do that the most.
Now, speaking of Worlds, you got to play against 2 of the best in Zoom and Nuguri. What did you learn from that? What like specifically? Because I think in an interview in the past you said you learned that you weren't that far behind. Yeah. But specifically, what did you learn from that? They're
not very selfish, which is like funny because I thought these guys would be like people that just shit on you in lane. Yeah. They would just bonk you in, you know. But they're not very selfish. They are very willing to help their jungler get a lead. They are getting small leads by themselves, but they will always use it to help their jungler get a bigger lead. And I think that is very important to not just focus on yourself in game and try to make sure that your team is in a good state, because it doesn't matter how big of a lead you have if your team is like unstable.
I had a fan question ask this. Do you still keep in touch with your teammates back on Rogue?
I do speak with them occasionally, especially Larsen.
Okay, but that was the one that they asked.
Yeah. I mean, not always, but we do catch up sometimes.
Do you feel like you left on good terms?
Decent.
Okay, that's fair.
Could be better, could be worse, right?
Yeah, of course, right? Anytime you leave, it doesn't feel great. A big topic that is being discussed right now, especially for imports, is the adjustment period from homesickness, right? Yeah. Obviously, the conversation between Alfari and Team Liquid, and Steve said in his press conference about how that is real. How have you handled that so far?
It was very real for me. I didn't think it would be real, but it really hit me hard in the break between spring and summer, when I was just staying. I didn't go back home for one. I think that was a mistake on my part. I for sure should have went home. I wanted to like adjust to America a bit better, to make sure that when summer hits, no more visa issues. We are ready from the start. That was my mindset, right?
Sure.
But I do believe going home and getting that rest, seeing family is important for me as a person. I think they're very important people for me. Yeah, I think it's just about finding small things in your routine to kind of remind you of home, whether it's talking to your family, listening to music you like from your home country, eating good food that reminds you of home.
Have you found a Swedish delicacy out here in Los Angeles?
I actually went to IKEA.
What? Really? Yeah. No, wait. This is real? Like, IKEA is the place where you get real food?
I actually went to IKEA to eat the meatballs. And I mean, that might sound stupid to you, and it might sound like silly, but it was actually super nice.
It's only silly because I was like, oh, this is Americanized, right? And I'm sure it is kind of Americanized.
Sure, yeah, it is.
But you're in Los Angeles. There's food from everywhere. You haven't found a place yet?
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll find a place. We'll find a place, we'll take you.
I mean, IKEA was very nice, actually.
How much of IKEA reminds you of home?
It was really cute because I didn't even realize this, but all the little furniture in IKEA, they're like called something, and it's a Swedish word.
Yes.
So wherever I went, there were like so many random Swedish words that made no sense at all. But it was still kind of cute to see it.
How have you battled the homesickness then? Because I do find it interesting, and I think a lot of fans that don't understand the grind of League, that people who have the opportunity to play games as their career is like, yeah, I'm kind of losing motivation. Like, how do you fight that?
Well, for me, I kind of stopped focusing on the mindless grind. I think when I played in Europe, I was a bit of a grinder. I was playing a lot of solo queue. But for me, I realized that while I'm here, I should focus more on myself. And I was watching a lot more VODs. I was trying to research more. Instead of just playing, I was trying to improve by watching.
Okay.
Which was kind of a new thing for me, because I used to be like the guy that played the most solo queue. But now I'm watching a lot, and I'm trying to gather knowledge that way.
Who are you watching?
I'm watching a lot of LPL, mostly because I think the game is a lot about team fighting right now. And I do think they have really good team fighting. You can take a lot away from that. Just by watching how they fall back or like how they move forward as a unit, they're very cohesion. Is that a word?
Cohesive, yeah.
Cohesive, yeah, that's the word.
Yeah.
And in the way they approach fighting. And I think that's very interesting, because I think that was what we were lacking a bit at one point. And
sure.
That's kind of what we're trying to implement now.
How much do you feel like what you've watched from other leagues gets implemented in the team? Obviously the team's working on it, but...
I think it was one game that I was watching, it was FPX versus, I think it was LNG, where FPX, they walk in, they want to fight Dragon, they blow 2 of their ults, completely whiff them, they got nothing out of it, but then they still like balled up and kept fighting. But I was like, if we were this team, we're like, guys, we don't have our ults, we gotta give this Dragon, let's just try to push out our lanes. But they were so confident in this fight, even though they didn't have 2 of their main ults, they just took the fight and they completely wiped out their team. And I was just mind blown when I saw this, because they were just so on point with everything. And I just realized if you're just confident in the way you take fights, you can probably win even if you're at a disadvantage, in theory.
Why can't we do that in NA?
Well, I'm trying. we're really trying now.
Yeah.
I think that's what kind of the mindset we have now, that we just try to outplay.
I've always had the idea that you need permission to do that. You need permission to outplay. You need permission from your teammates, from the coaching staff to be like, hey, we need to be okay with making these mistakes and pushing the boundaries. Is that something that you guys have had to do, or a conversation that you all have had?
Well, I think initially we had this issue where a lot of us would go for these individual plays and it would like put the game in chaos and the practice would get ruined from it. So we kind of had to tune them down. But what we do more is we go for these team-wide limit tests, basically, where all 5 of us are completely in a fight, where that is, okay guys, our AD carry is pushing bot and they're rotated for Herald. Let's try for reviving this fight with confidence while our AD carry is pushing bot, and then at worst we will die, but we will still get something. Yeah. So we try to include everyone in the like limit tests.
That's cool. Yeah, I think about the dive in the mid lane on Dignitas this last week, where it just felt like I think you were hiding in the bush, and you waited a very long time until I think it was Acadian like went to Raptors, then you jumped on him, and then it was a perfectly executed mid lane dive that very easily could have been like, all right, we got our kill on Acadian, they killed Pobe, and then that's it. But you guys kept going all the way through, and that felt like a change. Is there a system to that, or is it just more like, hey, let's go for it and let's see what happens, improv on the fly?
I think there's not really a system. I think we're very keen to improve in these areas in reviews. We kind of put a lot of our focus in reviews now at how we fight, and I think that's helping us a lot right now. It's kind of helping us take this step forward that we really need to find wins, because we really need wins right now. Yeah. Every win really matters for us. And it doesn't matter if we are like flawed as a team. Right. As long as we win, that's really what we need to be able to do now.
Do you feel like that can be a detriment as well? Because someone could say, hey, you're learning all these things, bad habits or whatever, but you're getting wins and you're not learning from it because you're making the same bad habits. You know, when you get to Worlds, then you're just going to get smacked, right? Or is the goal, what's the goal here? That
is true. It's a fair argument to be made, but also a lot of these fundamentals we're trying to implement are like stuff we watch from LPL teams. And these are the teams that like beat us up at Worlds. These are the teams that come and smack us down, you know? Yeah. So I think we should try to improve on par with them and not copy them when the time comes that we have to play them. Because these habits that they build over the seasons. They build over like multiple years of just consistent fighting for objectives, whether it's like a ward or a blue buff or whatever. They fight for this and they build these small habits that you can't learn in a month bootcamp. You can't learn this in 2 months bootcamp in China when you scream the good teams. You have to build this over a longer period of time.
All right, I can't let you go without asking about the top lane and North American top lane specifically, because we got a lot of outspoken guys about how good they are. We had a couple guys that talked about how good they are and they're no longer currently starting for their team. So tell me, where do you rate yourself in terms of top lane? And don't give me one of these PR safe answers.
I mean, I kind of see myself as if I'm at my best, I can beat all of them. Okay. So I'm kind of just trying to battle against myself.
Is there a clear favorite on who is the best top laner so far?
I mean, you can't count out Alfari, I think. This guy is always very good individually in his laning phase, and that is obviously what puts the most pressure on me as a player. But he is maybe not the guy that puts the most pressure on my team if I'm keeping the top lane stable, so there's an argument to be made for that, but I do think he's the guy I would put as #1, as of now. Other than that, I'm not sure. I think Farch's improvement has been very good, but it's not like I see Farch as a big threat or anything. I know that I can probably play better than him and outplay him, and I think that's true for most other top laners in North America. There's not like one guy that is just put on a pedestal that I'm afraid of. I know I can beat all of these guys if I'm playing well, so yeah, I'll put myself as #1.
When it comes to comparing NA top lane to EU top lane, what are some of the major differences that you've seen?
It's hard to tell. I don't think the difference is that big as people make it out to be. Maybe it's because, I mean, when I played in Europe, I thought there was 3 really good top laners in Europe. There was Wunder, Alfari, and Whippo. Whippo is no longer a top laner, and Alfari joined me here in America. So I just think the best top laners are the ones that really work in cohesion with the jungler. They're like very on sync and like in symbiosis, and they're very good at taking these explosive trades, which like in a vacuum doesn't make sense, but then the jungler is sprinting to the lane and they will get something. That's what Wunder was good at, and I think Armut is good at that. Yes. Watching him, he's very good at just fighting at the right timings. Well, I feel like maybe top laners here kind of don't see the big picture as well as other top laners would around the world. That would be one thing that I think people could work on.
What can you say now to CLG fans, because they've been living off of potential and hope since the inception of CLG? Yeah. What can you say to them, given the fact that you had a rough start and a lot of it was out of your hands, right? Visa issues, homesickness, whatever. But what can you say to them now on how important it is for you all to win for them?
Yeah, I think they should keep holding us to high standard. I don't like when fans are like giving up on your team. Like they should be mad when we lose and they should be happy when we win. And it's up to us to kind of give it back.
What would you rather do? Is a bigger success winning LCS or a bigger success getting out of groups at World? I assume that both of them is getting the World, but you know. Because would you rather like take 3rd place in LCS but get out of groups and Worlds, or would you rather win LCS and then get stuffed in like groups, go 3?
It's very interesting because it's not that simple answer to make, because winning a championship is always a dream, right? But I do think the experience you get from playing at Worlds, making it out of groups, is even larger than that. And it's gonna like increase your chances for the year to come, because it's really easy to peak after you win one championship and you just have a decline after.
Right.
But I think making it to the quarterfinals of groups would be way bigger for my mental state and giving me that motivation to go even beyond.
Especially given the fact that you didn't get to do that last time,
yeah,
right?
It was very disappointing. Just going out in groups it feels like you come, you play, and you didn't do anything. It was just a waste of time, and that's just the worst feeling, I think. To go to Worlds and feel like you didn't do anything there. So whether it's getting out of groups or going to semis, you want to make sure you have like a purpose, you know, with your actions, and just making it to Worlds is not really anything special. A lot of people do it.
I like that. That's interesting. To wrap it up, thank you for your time. Appreciate you. What do you have to say finally to CLG fans? You can look at that one. You can look at that one. Yeah, that one right there.
Okay, boys, have faith. We're gonna make it.
Very confident, Finn. Thank you very much, brother. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.